What do you think Manchester would be like if it hadn't been for the slave trade?
It's a very hard question, isn't it? I mean, I think cotton is so important to Manchester, and it would have, if cotton had been developed as a produce done by waged labour, it wouldn't have been nearly as profitable to them. Yeah. So I think you would have had eventually some form of some form of cotton economy, but it couldn't have made the gigantic, massive amounts of money at all the kinds of spaces and places it did with wage labour. Slavery meant that you could make the super profits they made. And also, what slavery did was it kind of taught ways of dealing with labour. If we think about the sugar plantations and the sugar factories, that could then be exported here, so you could have 24-hour working. So it's almost like they learnt so much from dealing with black labourers in the West Indies. They learnt sorts of things we can all wish they had never learnt about treating, how you can get the most out of a workforce by treating them as non-human beings, really. And then some of that was exported into the slave factories. Child labour, the amount of child labour there was, is a direct result probably of looking and seeing the amount of child labour there was in the factories and in the fields in the West Indies. And women would be breastfeeding in the fields. They'd take their babies with them. So that kind of treatment of labour. Just if you can do it there, well, why not? We've got the Irish. I mean, they're just the same as the blacks, aren't they? In their terms, the terms of the employers, we can treat them just the same. We can treat the working class just the same. And before this point, people were working in their own homes in cottage industries. They had some kinds of forms of autonomy in comparison. The factory system means they haven't. So. Does that answer the question? I mean, I don't know really. I mean, what would it be like without cotton? There would have been other trades. Also, cotton could have been got from elsewhere. It could have been got from India and things, and eventually sometimes it is, and from Turkey and all these places where so there were other markets. It's just that was an easy market. It's there. It's cheap. Why is it cheap? Well, because you're using labour you don't pay for.
It doesn't really stop at Manchester. It doesn't stop at Manchester. It's the economy of the British government.
Yeah, British Isles, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And the European countries.
European powers as well.
Yeah, as well after.
Yeah, France was responsible for a large amount in the slave trades as well. Spain, Portugal. Yes, you're right. I would never want to say this is just a British problem at all. I'd never want to say it's just a Northwest problem. But one of the things that's said often is, oh, Liverpool, yes, that's got to do with slavery, but not us in Manchester. And, James Wolverton, who's one of the key historians of slavery, says, look at the Manchester United crest. What's the Manchester United crest got on it? It's got a boat on it. Why has it got a boat? How far away are you from the sea here? 20 miles? Why has it got a boat? It's got a boat because the cotton had to come from the tropics. And it's the cotton which makes the wealth. So when next time you have a look at that shirt, it's got a couple of devils, isn't it, and a boat in between. I don't know. I don't know much about Man United, but Jim Wolverton says that when he's in Manchester. He gets quite a lot of flack for it, but I think he's got a point. Why do you put that there? Because it's trade that made Manchester, but trade has consequences for the people that you exploit, and that's the story, really.